we have lights, camera, action?
Kaya started.
There you go.
Adorbs. That's
Okay.
Are you going to be here next week?
What's that?
Are you going to be here next
She's
week?
already a
Yes.
queen.
I'm going to talk about your buddy.
About to say,
What?
like, doesn't that
talk about your
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome you all here. We have a couple guests joining us today. One I'm going to make an introduction for here in just a minute, but we do have a very special meeting. Are we good to go, Jorge? Cool. We do have a very special meeting for you planned today, so thank you for all of you that are joining us today. It's very exciting to be discussing the Pathways program and to be learning about the new program that we're going to be using here at Toastmasters. And I know that there's a lot of people that are working very, very hard on this program. Trey is one of our ambassadors for the Pathways program,
I'm a
correct?
guide.
You're a guide, okay.
Yeah,
So
no,
there's-
I'm not.
so there's a difference between a guide and an ambassador, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to find that out today.
The ambassadors are cooler, the guides are
That's right, they are.
not as cool.
It just shows that I don't know everything.
Yeah.
A couple really cool things coming up in the club, though. We have our club contest coming up in a couple weeks, so that's exciting. So if we're going to be passing around sign-ups, we're going to need volunteers. We're going to need probably a test speaker for the evaluation contest, and we're going to need some, obviously, contestants. So please join, get involved in the contest. It's a lot of fun to compete. Even if you've never competed before and you're nervous, just get in there and do it. You never know what's going to happen, so it's really exciting. Trey's asked me to speak at the Willow's Voices as their test speaker on March 2nd for their evaluation contest, so I'm really excited to be doing that. I'm going to be sharing a little bit about mac and cheese with those guys, as Trey requested. So
Now I'm hungry.
it was never actually a real speech. That's the thing. It was just
And
a
I've
couple.
never even heard it.
It was a couple table topics that evolved into an actual speech. See, you could take something as simple and silly as macaroni and cheese and turn it into a competition grade speech. That's the beauty about it. So I don't want to take up any more time. I want to get to, first of all, we have a guest.
Naga.
Oh, Naga.
Hello.
We know you. Never mind. Just kidding.
And the abuse star.
Yeah.
But I want to introduce Tammy, and I was reading over Tammy's resume, and she has a very impressive resume. She's done a lot, and so she's a senior systems architect, manages network enablement projects at AT&T Labs. She's not only a distinguished Toastmaster, but she's a Lean Six Sigma black belt.
Nice. Oh my.
So in the business world, that's huge. And a project management professional. And in the project management world, that is a huge, it's about the equivalent of a master's degree in project management. So it takes about how many hours do you need to put in project management?
A lot more than when I took the first test. So now you have like about 35 hours of accredited courses you have to take before you can do the.
But then how many hours of actual project management work?
Oh.
It's thousands.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of time. So the Project Management Institute is, it's a very well accredited program. So it's a huge accomplishment there. And she has an extensive experience in information technology, project management, and software measurement. She has over 20 years in the telecommunications industry, and she regularly presents at industry conferences, including Mobile World Congress and 4G World. Very impressive resume. She holds a master's in telecommunications management from Stevens Institute of Technology, a master's in music from Yale, and an undergraduate from California State University Fresno. She's currently working on an online master's in computer science from Georgia Tech. What haven't you done?
Sleep.
And she's a professional clarinetist and performs with the Seattle Wind Symphony. Did you bring your clarinet?
No. Darn it.
Forget Pathways. We wanna... So let's bring Tammy up here. Give her a warm welcome. Okay, I'm gonna also go through Pat's, who we do know here, but just a little bit of background, some things you may not have known. For over a decade before joining Toastmasters, Pat was a frequent visitor at contests, local conferences, and international conventions, or dragged. by her husband to attend. She's been a Toastmaster since 2011. Her rise in Toastmasters was meteoric. Just 10 days after giving her first speech, the icebreaker, she had dinner at the 2011 International Convention, head table with the Toastmasters International President and Board of Directors.
Wow.
So that's a big deal, right?
Helps who you're
Right
married
into it.
to.
A few of us had the opportunity to meet our current international president at this recent fall convention. Pat earned the Distinguished Toastmaster distinction serving at club, area, and division leadership positions, and is a prison club sponsor volunteer.
Nice.
And Pat was also appointed a Pathways Guide to help introduce the new multifaceted Pathways program to several clubs. She will work with these clubs for the initial months as we transition to this new educational program. And we're very honored to have you part of our club, to be our immediate past president, and appreciate everything you do for Toastmasters and Canyon Park Echo. So let's welcome Tammy and Pat.
Okay, I'll let Pat play with the presentation for a second. Okay. It does. Okay, that's fine. I can write.
Waiting is good. So welcome everyone. Pat and I are thrilled to be here, and we're excited about Pathways, and we hope to get you excited about Pathways too. So the difference between an ambassador and a guide is basically an ambassador doesn't have as much time as a guide to work with the individual clubs. So I get the lucky job that I get to be the cheerleader and help answer your questions. Pat's the really one who's doing most of the work. So Pat's the one who gets all the credit, but I'm here to get everybody excited. So how many of you, well, I'm assuming most of you have heard of Pathways for no other reason other than it's the agenda for today's Toastmasters meeting. But how many of you have actually gone through the training, either through a melee or another presentation, maybe at another club? Okay, Trey, I would expect, okay.
Did we get presented on Pathways?
Not in the club.
Not in the
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so for most of you, it's relatively new. So, cool. I think you're going to be really excited. And if not, then I didn't do a good presentation. So. Okay, we're going to skip the video. We've kind of had inconsistent working with it. If the hotspot works well, it's great. If the Wi-Fi is not working well, eh. But basically, it's just someone who, like me, is very excited about Pathways and saying, yeah, this is very good. We've done really good with the program. So where in the world is Pathways live and doing well now? Well, just about every part of the world except for our region. And Africa, I believe. So we are actually one of the last regions that is being converted into Pathways. So I don't know how many of you do the LinkedIn Toastmasters board. So a lot of people have been asking questions about Pathways, and I'm going, I don't know. When I log into, the district not district Toastmaster site, but the international site, it'll just say, your district's getting ready for it. We're not going to show you anything. So it's like, oh man, really? But the core intent of Toastmasters is still going to be the same. Even though the program has changed over the years, still communication is going to be what leads us to develop our leadership goals. So that part's the same. Another part's the same is the club meetings. So the club meetings and the format of the club meetings will not change at all. So those are some of the good things that they've been kept in this new program. Many of you are familiar with the CC. You start off with your competent communicator, your competent leader. You go up through the advanced levels and you ultimately end up at Distinguished Toastmaster. This part of the program is changing. What is being retained is the Distinguished Toastmaster designation. What is going away are the CC and the CL as we know them today. You can easily see in the program after this presentation where they're putting them, but you won't receive the designation of CC and CL and your advanced leader working up as before. So those are going to be grandfathered, and you will have a choice that you can make. If you're working towards DTM in the current program, I believe you have 2 years after we make the switch, and we're on schedule to make the switch in March, to go as far as you can and complete whatever level you would like. So the old program isn't going away immediately. So if you're like 1 or 2 goals away from being a distinguished Toastmaster or an advanced communicator gold as an example, you can continue working on those paths. Excuse the expression. If you want to start the new program, you can start the new program immediately. Or you can do something in between. You can say, I'm going to stay in the old program for 6 months till I kind of get a feel for the people doing the new program, see till it gets the kinks worked out, and then I'll make the switch. So in the next 2 years, you have a choice to make. As to not if you're going to go to Pathways, but when you're ready to make the commitment and go to the new program. It's important to know that any new members that join the club after we make the switch in the district will be starting on Pathways. So toward the end of March, if you have a new member join the club after that date, they will be doing Pathways. And so you can kind of see how they're doing it if you're not sure that you want to do it. And we learn in moments of enjoyment. So I've already heard lots of laughter in this meeting, and that was even before I got up here to start speaking. All that fun laughter, all that camaraderie, that continues in the same program. So they're calling it revitalized. I think it's more to address the fact that Toastmasters started in 1920s, 30s, went through this change when they did the CC and the CL, and that's been in place for many decades. What has changed, in addition to the culture, is the technology. And so this program has a heavy emphasis on the ease of access that technology affords. And by ease of access, the materials are going to be online, your records are going to be online, so you don't have to worry about, did I lose my manual? Or what I've seen happen with some members of my club at AT&T, they will back off from Toastmasters for a year or 2 and then come back and want to start where they left off. The first thing they'll ask is, do you have my records from before? Well, you won't have that problem here because everything will be online. And you get to choose. So whereas before everybody had to start with the CC and everybody had to start with the CL, you will have 10 different, I'll say, areas of exploration initially, and get into a little bit more of that. What is akin to the CC and CL is you start at level 1 on whichever of those 10 areas you decide to pick. There we go. We can skip the video. Okay. Each of the 10 areas addresses all or some of these key areas. So there's public speaking, interpersonal communication, strategic leadership, management, and confidence. And these 5 areas, up to 5 different skill sets, are mapped to each of the 10 paths. So for example, if you're interested in public speaking, if communication verbally is what really gets you, you can say, which one of these concentrates on communication? Well, wow, all of them concentrate on communication, okay. What's something else I might be interested in? Oh, I want to build my confidence. Let's see which one of these 10 are going to help me build my confidence. You're going through, oh, confidence. Wow, all of them. Okay. Well, they're going to help my speaking. They're going to help my confidence. What's another thing? Oh, I'm interested in interpersonal communication. Let's see. Do all of these have interpersonal communication? No. So maybe I don't worry about presentation mastery for now. Maybe I pick one of these paths that has interpersonal communication as one of the main areas. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there because that's a key slide where it shows the 10 paths and it shows 5 areas that each of the paths could be supporting, not all areas. But one of the key things I want you to notice is what are the, oh, let me take a picture, you don't need to get my hand.
Oh, it's totally okay. It actually doesn't want to take the picture anyway.
Okay. Is notice the names of the paths. Do they look communication oriented? For those of you, can everybody see this pretty clearly, even in the back? Okay. Are these communication oriented? Do they say like competent communicator? Okay. I think this is the biggest change that's going to make it much easier for your club to recruit new members, particularly if you are looking to recruit in the business community. These are very business goal oriented. So whereas before it was, yes, Toastmasters makes leaders, that was the kind of the tagline, but really if you looked at the manuals and everything, it was extremely communication focused. It's still going to be communication focused, but the titles of the path are very business oriented, very leadership oriented. And because of that, I think it's going to make it an easier influence, easier persuasion to have new members join the club. Because it's much easier to say, you know, are you interested in being a leader? Well, we've got a path for you called leadership development, and here's how we can get you started. It just, to me, it just makes the whole recruitment process so much easier and shows the value of the program. Okay, any questions?
Yeah.
Yes?
Is there any significance to the order of the numbers?
No, that they just, go ahead.
They have videos for the guides that the ambassador doesn't have access to. And I saw one yesterday that mentioned that the emphasis is given in the order. For example, innovative planning, the third on the left, they first stress public speaking. The next stress is on management. The next stress is on interpersonal communication.
So confidence is not very stressed on any.
No, it's the last one.
They say that confidence arises,
just comes.
grows
Yeah.
with the practice.
Yeah.
So in all of them, there's
All of
public
it.
speaking and there's practice. And as you practice, you get more confident.
Now, one of the nice things about this program is that we're starting with 10. They can add more paths in the future. So this is the initial cohort, so to speak, for those of you in education. And this will get bigger. So I think that's what's exciting. Okay, so let's take one path and slice and dice it and see what comprises a path. First of all, each path has 5 levels. So let's just take, well, I'll take a generic path. Persuasion is the one I always feel that I need to do as my first path because I can never persuade my management to my way of thinking. I think there's a problem there with that, but, and I need to obviously work on it. But mastering the fundamentals, so icebreaker, evaluation, researching and presenting. Those are all competent communicator skills, either a speech is around it or a project is around it. So again, how they're bringing in some competent communication and competent leader into the level 1. Learning your style has 2 required projects and then an introduction to Toastmasters mentoring. The mentoring program has been enhanced appreciably, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. Increasing knowledge, so you're a level 3, and these are where some of the meeting roles come into play. Building skills, and then demonstrating expertise. Go ahead.
So there's 5 levels to each.
Path.
Okay.
And I believe the goal is that you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The goal isn't that you would go 4, 2, 3, 1. Which in the competent communicator you can do. And I know in my club, some people do it that way. They just like to hopscotch around. This really is designed to go sequentially. So each of the projects has an online manual. In some cases, you can still get printed manuals, you'll just have to pay for them. The first path, since you are going to be in the beginning, I'll say class, of Toastmasters who are offered the conversion, your first path is free. You just need to determine which one you want to do. Each path after that is $20? $20. And that gets you access to all the materials. The online materials are free, so the $20 gets you access. And it's videos too. It's not just, it's, all the modern social media stuff that you can do. And They have them, I think of all these languages right now, the printed materials are in 2 or 3 of the languages, but ultimately they will be in all of them. How many of you were Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts? Okay, so the concept of badges is going to be, common to you all. Each level, so one path has 5 levels. As you complete each level, you will get an electronic badge, and it stays in your record. And then these are the different, I think paths is what these are representing. So how long do you think it's going to be before somebody comes up with a sash and becomes with the little pins so that everybody knows what level you're on? I was thinking about this at our last meeting, and I'm going, oh, I bet you're going to start seeing that. There's a business opportunity there to make the pins for the badges. But that's going to be, so you will get, I'll say, more awards than in the old program. Because in the old program, you got awarded after so many speeches. It wasn't, I'll say, as frequent. This is more frequent, I think, because they want to encourage you. To get to DTM, you need to do all the projects, all the leadership activities associated with 2 paths. And it's estimated to take 3 to 4 years, I think, to complete 2 paths. So the amount of time to get to DTM is about the same as it is today. But you'll be doing different things to get to DTM. And you'll be getting all these cool badges. So it's all about the badges. Evaluations. Evaluations are changing ever so slightly. Yes, you're going to have a piece of paper where you as the evaluator are going to see what are the criteria for that particular speech. You're going to have a, fill out this information, which is pretty much the same. You will tell your club what it is that you're going to evaluate the speaker on, what are some key areas you're looking in. And then you'll go through, and I'm hoping all of the evaluations are like this. You'll circle the numbers. It's very, very easy, just like it is now. In fact, it's the same it is now. The difference comes in that once the evaluator has given the speaker the evaluation, this information then is either through scanning or maybe taking a picture with your cell phone, is then uploaded into your record. And I believe it's the VPE or president or secretary who can do that.
Actually, you can.
Or you can upload your own information then.
Oh, thank
So,
God.
okay, thank you.
Goodness.
And you can't see this very well, but just like when you do, for those of you who've been judges in either your club contest, area contest, district contest, they always give you criteria. So each of the projects or speeches is going to have an evaluation criteria, and it will be very clear. I'm assuming just like when you judge, you can choose to use it or you can choose to ignore it as an evaluator. But I think it's great that they're giving you some guidelines here.
Yeah.
Yes?
So at a meeting, like if you're speaking, normally now we bring our book and you give it to the evaluator. So does the evaluator have to go, I'm evaluating this, so they bring their paper that tells them what they're doing?
I would think you as the speaker, it would still be your responsibility to print out the form and bring it to your evaluator and say, this is my form. And then the evaluator fills it out, gives you the oral readout, and then gives you back the form, and then you can take the picture on your cell phone and upload it.
Are there online forms?
Yes. Right, so I think that if, say I was evaluating you and I had my mobile phone, I think I could fill out the form online, is that correct? Are we not sure if they're that?
It's a really good question.
Okay, we'll get back to
Because how would you do the comments if you did it online?
you. Yeah.
So the online form allegedly has a text field in it.
Well, that's what we need to check, is if it's mobile enabled, or if it truly is meant for you to print out and give to someone a hard copy. And then, of course, another question is, if you're the speaker, how does the evaluator hook up to your records to be able to pull down that, fill it out, and then push it back to you? I don't know. theoretically, it should be able to do it. Most computer systems can, but I don't know. Good, all good points. Okay, let's see. Okay, there we go. So what's changing about Pathways in terms of mentoring? And this is where I'm going to rely a little on Pat. So before you had opportunities to mentor, you could mentor a new club member through their first speeches, and you would get, you know, your competency in the mentoring part of the competent leader. Or you could support someone's HPL project, high performance leadership. And the third one, Pat knows I have a terrible memory that I forgot whatever the third one was, but there were 3 areas to do it. In this case, this is a much more advanced type of program. So when you finish one of the paths, for example, you can mentor others in that area. When you get so far in the program, you can be considered a Pathways mentor, and people can come to you for general and specific help on Pathways. So it's a much more, it's a bigger deal, long story short, than it has been before. So if mentoring is your thing, there's going to be more opportunities to mentor. Yes?
Do you have to complete one full pass before you can become a mentor?
I don't think so. I think it's
Level 2.
level 2, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Otherwise, CND.
So when we start the program off, I assume everybody's gonna be level 0.
That's right.
So the mentors will be a little slim around that time.
There will be, but I think that's where the guides can help to some extent.
And the club mentor to help learn the club culture and easy speak and all that, that's still going on.
Yeah.
Right,
Sure,
yeah, yeah.
Sure.
We're all in this together, guys. I don't have access to Pathways yet either,
Yeah.
so.
So if you've got friends on the East Coast or some other part of the world, you can always say, hey, can I borrow your login and password? And see what it's like.
Remote.
Yeah, remote access.
So,
Yes.
Tammy, correct me if I'm wrong, but the intent of the mentoring program is to help people who are in a specific path get better at that path? Or, because as you mentioned,
think-
Pat, the whole piece about club culture and the logistics of dealing with the website and logging in and yada, yada, yada is all the same.
I think the mentor program through Pathways is to help people with Pathways
Yeah.
as a
Okay.
whole.
Yeah, what they say, I'll read verbatim what they say here. After you complete all projects in the Pathways Mentor Program, so this is its own program, as well as one full path in Pathways, you are a Pathways mentor. It's going to take time before your club has Pathways mentors, and that's okay. And just that you're encouraged to pursue this program if you enjoy helping and supporting others. So I think it's, as Pat says, we're going to learn about it as we do it. And then after probably the first year, oh, we get this now. And I remember that it took me a year being in Toastmasters before I finally sort of got it. We started off as a new club. Most of us didn't know about Toastmasters. We were just at the first meeting because a friend invited us. So we were Toastmasters clueless. And you can see at about a year's time, oh, I get it now. But it took a full year of doing it before we actually kind of got it. So I imagine it's going to be the same here. It was very fun to learn for that year, but it just took us a while. We called ourselves the clueless Toastmasters. We just had no idea. Okay, getting started. Is this where I give it to you?
Sure.
All right.
There you go.
Thank you very much. My little cheat sheet here. I'm learning too as we go through this.
Have you given some of these already yet?
I'm happy to say this is my second. And as with the other one, I was a bit stuck, but that's okay. So getting started. The idea at this time is that on March 20th of this year, we will all receive an email from Toastmasters International that will provide us with a link so we can log into Toastmasters International and get started. The holdup might be is that Region 1 from Alaska to Nebraska and Region 11, which is Southern Europe and Africa, we have to have 70% of our clubs going through this presentation. And if we all together don't hit that 70%, it's gonna be delayed. So number one, thank you for having me here on behalf of Nigeria. And number two, I'm real nervous because if I get sick and I can't do it, the whole thing is going to just crash. I take on responsibilities far greater than I should, I know. Once you log in, you will see the Pathways Start screen. You will also have access to the Navigator. The Navigator is a little bit like your Bible. It contains a lot of information that's currently in the Competent Communicator Manual, which includes what the different roles are in the club, who the officers are and what they do, some information about Pathways itself, and several tips and tools. If you choose the online version of Pathways, you'll be able to look at this online. You can download it, you can order it from Toastmasters International in print format as well. You have to choose from the beginning whether the path you want is going to be online or print. The online version is very robust. It has videos that you can use and a great deal of information available to it. For example, as Tammy said, you don't have to, but you may upload your evaluations. If you choose, and the first one is free. If you choose the print version, you have a choice of 5 paths in English and 2 other languages. I'm not sure what they are. You have up there, that first one is free, but the cost of printing and shipping is $25. If you belong to a second club at the time that Pathways rolls out, you get 2 paths for free. And you don't have to pick them right away. You can get one this year, you can get one another year, whatever you like. If you belong to more than 2 clubs, you get 2 paths for free. You got a question?
That was my question.
Okay.
Very good, very good.
Thank you, thank you.
I have a question, Pat.
Yes, yes.
Navigator only works with Pathways, so if you're continuing on with the current program for a period of time to try and get awards that your mentor says you need to have, then you don't use Navigator, right?
It is planned that the last region will roll out in May. You have 2 years after the last region rolls out to finish whatever your current goals are on the legacy system. So you can work simultaneously on what you're doing now and Pathways. Navigator applies to Pathways.
Okay.
After you have selected your, whichever you choose to use, whether it's online or print, well, only if it's online, you take an assessment. The assessment just takes a few minutes and it asks you some simple questions about your experience and your interests. At the end of your assessment, which all of us have to do at least once, I feel relaxed while giving a speech. How hard is that to answer? You get 3 recommended paths. If they don't appeal to you, or if you want to see what the other paths are, that's great. You don't have to take any one of those paths. So then you go to the next screen and you can dig down and find out what it is you really want to do. You'll come to the home screen and you'll be given a tour the first time you go. As I mentioned, you have 2 years to finish the goals that you've set for yourself now. And this only applies to the education aspect of it. The service aspect of it, where you're a club leader or a district officer or you've sponsored a club, those have those will carry forward. So if you were a club leader 2 years ago, and you're going for a DTM in Pathways, a Distinguished Toastmaster, then that will apply towards your Pathways Distinguished Toastmaster.
Cool.
As Tammy mentioned, all new members as of March 20th will be on Pathways. The legacy program will not be an option. So you'll look at Navigator, you'll not memorize it, but you'll have it available on your phone or on your tablet, on your computer, to help you figure out what it is you're doing. And you'll find that the club roles don't change, the club meetings don't change. Most of the speeches are still 5 to 7 minutes. It's just that educational path that is changing, and it's so much more flexible. Some people on the LinkedIn Toastmasters group that Tammy mentioned have bemoaned the fact, well, there's no humorously speaking advanced manual anymore. Well, if you check the other paths, you can do whatever kind of speech you want. And humor is sometimes a very good way to effect change in a very serious presentation, to lighten it up a little bit. And that's all covered as part of Pathways. And you'll also find that there are tutorials that address each of the things that you're learning on Pathways. For example, with the old version, there's 68 competencies, they're called. Do you cover your subject well? Do you have good eye contact? How do you use your body, and so on? With Pathways, there's over 300, and they're spelled out. You receive recognition far more frequently, not only at the end of each level, and of course when you get a path, but if you do exceptionally well, members of your club can give you an award, and it's right there on your screen. I did it! Some of you may be asking yourselves, well, how do we become a distinguished club? Through the Distinguished Club program. Who of you are familiar with that?
A little bit.
Okay, that's great. There's 10 Distinguished Club goals. Some of them have to do with, have you turned in your officer list on time? Have you paid your dues on time? Administrative. Some have to do with education. In this case, these items. Well, for 2 years, your club can pick any 6 of these 12 goals to earn all of the Distinguished Club goals. So you could have two Competent Communicator Awards because 2 people went through their Competent Communicator manual, and 4 people have gone through the level 1 of Pathways. There's 2 of the 10 distinguished goals. Yes.
That's an and relationship, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's an either or. You can do, it's either or and. Yes.
You
Just want to
can
make sure
take
it's
6 of
all
that
covered.
page, 6 of 12.
Any 6 will work. There's a local support team. There's Tammy. There's the district leadership team, which includes your area director and your division director, and of course the trio at the top. There's a chief ambassador, who's my boss, Emmy Meeker. And there are the Pathway Guides. And the Pathways Guides are working with a cluster of clubs through the initial phase of this program. I'll be here for 4 months and longer if it's needed. I'll be working primarily with Kathy. I'll be having a minimum of 15 weekly online help sessions with Kathy and the other VPEs. And by the way, as an aside, currently, if Kathy earns a CC, she can't put it in for herself. She can ask any other officer to submit that for her. I have a trick question for you. Who knows who can vote at the district conference?
I know, because you told us, so I'm not gonna say.
Okay.
Club president.
And,
Vice
VP.
president and secretary.
no, at the International Convention,
Oh, okay.
it's the president and the secretary.
Okay.
Who can tell me who the 3 people are who are base camp, who can help with base camp, which is the software on which
Oh,
Pathways
okay.
runs?
BPE.
VPE,
The president
President.
and sergeant.
Secretary.
Secretary and sergeant.
Oh, it is secretary.
president, VPE, and secretary. Those 3 people, and only those 3 people, will have access to your records on base camp. And the records that you have, many of them are personal, your evaluations, for example, any other document that you want to upload, that's all personal. But what you've done is available to those 3. So if Kathy takes vacation, you're not up a creek. There are 2 other people who can help. Yeah, Steve, it's on you.
It's a little daunting for, to be an officer and all of a sudden have this new program rolling out and feeling like, oh my gosh, we have to learn this program and.
Well, just remember,
Mhm.
2 things.
Yeah.
Number 1, you're a Toastmaster, you can do it. And number 2, Toastmasters is a great place to fail, because the rest of us will pick you up and help.
Thank you, Pat.
So don't worry about it.
Okay.
Kathy, would you mind handing out, there's a box that I gave Kathy, and in the box is a little get started guide. There are 3 hymns like this for the first 3 people in the club who get started on Pathways. And there's also a thumb drive, which has the navigator. It has the new member application, because those have changed too. It has lots of other documents, including for Kathy and the other people who will be working on Base Camp, the Base Camp Manager Guides, which is lots of pictures of how to, and so you'll be okay.
Okay.
Thumb drive, it's really there. When you first log in to Pathways, Basecamp will check your computer and make sure that the setup is optimal. Optimal. You must disable pop-ups, because when you click on something, in all likelihood, you're gonna get a pop-up screen. If it'll tell you need to disable pop-ups. It may tell you how, and if you don't know how, you can either search for how to do it online, or you can ask just about anybody else sitting in the room.
Or else
Enable.
Enable, yes.
Disable
Pop-ups.
the pop-up blocker.
That's what I want.
This is not a pop-up blocker to enable pop-ups.
Do not ask me.
Okay, we need to enable
We have
pop-ups.
millennials in the room. too.
Yes, that's very helpful.
They
Yes,
Thank
ask
goodness.
anyone under 30. There is a button to help you navigate Basecamp. It has tutorials that are by subject, and it's supposed to be wonderful. I haven't had the opportunity to see it, but it's there, and it will be a vast help in learning more about both Pathways and the projects that you are working on. I already mentioned disable your pop-up blocker. When you have questions, please give them to Kathy. She will give them to me, and we'll talk about them over this weekly session that I'll be starting in the next couple weeks with the other VPEs. That way, her questions will be heard by everyone else, because many of them may be the same. We're all getting through this together. And if I can't find an answer, I'll find out. How many of you have ever logged in to the Toastmasters website? Okay, I see a couple people have not. The way to log in is you go to toastmasters.org, and you either put in the email address that you originally gave to Toastmasters, or if you don't remember that, you have a Toastmasters magazine. And above your name is your membership number. So put in your email address or your membership number, and if you can't find a magazine, any officer has access to your number through the Toastmasters website and ask them out. You'll get an email allowing you to put in a password and you're good to go. Don't wait until March 20th to do this. Do it sooner. It'd be unfortunate if you had to wait for the ability to log in before you start Pathways. Yes?
But we can't log into Basecamp until March 20th, correct?
No?
Okay.
Yes?
Once you log in and sign in with Navigator Basecamp, are you committed to Pathways?
No.
Okay.
You can continue working on whatever you're doing for 2 years, from March to May
Right.
of 2020.
But you can sign up in here as soon as it rolls out and just not be committed to that path, or not be committed to that
That is correct.
focus, okay.
You choose your path when you're good and ready.
Okay. I want to get what
Yes,
my
Barbara.
mentor says on that.
Can you say yet if it is generally true that it would be better to complete your DTM on the path that, with the current program, rather than switch into Pathways and complete it? Do you have a sense of that?
Yes, I do. Early in the early 2000s, I'm not sure, 2003, 2001, they changed from the initial version of Toastmasters, the initial education program that Dr. Smedley developed, to another one. I'm sorry. Earlier than that, they changed to another. And they started with the Competent Communicator and the Competent Leader program, early 2000s. When they did that, the requirements for Distinguished Toastmaster were reduced. And some people were unhappy because people were getting them far too fast. They weren't putting in the time to really learn. So the board of directors said, we need to make it a little tougher. So for example, in the old version, you had to sponsor a club, or be a mentor of a new club, or coach a struggling club. With the Pathways version, you have to sponsor a club, and you have to mentor a new club or coach a struggling club. So that's one key difference.
Okay.
Another is you have to be an officer for 6 months or an officer of a club for 12. So go for the gold and you don't want it.
I have a question.
Yes.
I hope I heard you correctly. The kit, the book for the next year, for the following year, is $25.
The $25 is if you decide to use the print version of Pathways.
Okay.
It's plus $20 for the path itself, so it's $45. If you only want the online version, it's $20 after you already have one that's free, or two if you have multiple clubs. So
Okay.
going forward, after that, the minimum is $20 for the online version.
How about the new members that are coming in?
That's included in their initial membership fee.
Okay, it still remain the same. Okay.
But we have new membership applications that are on that one drive. So that'll explain it. I think we're doing that already. Are there any other questions?
I had a question. When you talked about the humorous speeches and whatnot, and now it's in the Pathways, you can pretty much give any kind of speech you want. But one thing that was nice about the manuals, or is nice right now about the manuals, is they give you that specific guidance. Is there guidance in the Pathways program, or do we just kind of go get those manuals now if we want that information that's in there? If we want to do, we know we want to do some of those paths and we won't necessarily get to it before Pathways is a part of our life.
I'm not sure. They are coming out with additional paths when the rollout is finished. I haven't been able to see exactly what the tutorials are.
Okay.
I know there's many of them, but I cannot answer your question.
I bet they have them then.
I would think they would.
So if, go ahead.
To follow up with that, in the past, we purchased a lot of manuals. Can we get it back and get reimbursed if we don't use them?
I think that's, I don't think so. But you may have club members who may want to purchase them because they want to finish.
Oh.
And if you want a CC or CL manual going forward, I don't think you can. Randy?
So 2 questions. First one is to Barb's question. It's uncertain as to where legacy information is going to be available on the Toastmasters website to provide guidance for people in the paths. I think that's a fair statement.
I'm sorry, could you restate that? I didn't quite understand.
As it relates to specifically the humorously speaking, let's talk about that maybe. That information, having that legacy information available would be good guidance for someone who wants to pick a path, or who wants to do a humorous speech in a path they're in the Pathways program. And if we're uncertain as to what legacy information would be available to help guide that, I guess it's a comment to say, if that information was available, it would be good guidance for somebody going down the path.
But I think, like, even if you go online, if you Google, there's some clubs that have PDF'd a lot of these
Yes.
manuals. So if you Google humor
Yeah.
speaking,
Yeah, you can.
it'll come up. You can find.
But it'd be nice if it were on the Toastmasters website, if that legacy data was
Yeah.
available.
It doesn't sound like they get rid of
And the
it.
Yeah, I
legacy
think- I
data
think
might
we
be
got
in
that.
Pathways. I will try to find that out.
Yeah.
And then essentially after March 20, anybody who said, I want to do a second or third or X CC or CL, that they're out of luck.
I will double check that, but I heard
That
somebody
would
tried
make,
to
that would
buy,
make sense.
tried to buy CC and CL
Yeah,
manuals
yeah,
and they
it's not
weren't
happening.
help-
Buy it
they
now.
couldn't.
Yeah.
Sell them online.
Black market, you know?
Right, just
Go to
way-
eBay.
way-
Bitcoin had money in it.
So now you just
But only with
way
other
up,
people's
way down.
money.
Another thing I thought I'd mention is that at this time, if you want to, you can give a Pathways icebreaker. Now, no member of the club, or VPE for example, cannot upload it, give you credit for it. You have to send it in to Toastmasters International. Or Kathy would have to send it in to Toastmasters International. But you would get credit for it on Pathways. So that's available to all of us now. Any other questions?
What's different between a Pathways icebreaker and a company communicator icebreaker?
The credit goes to 2 different places, that's it, right?
That's one thing, but the other is I think you're supposed to be a little more introspective with the Pathways icebreaker, talking about why you want to take this particular path or why you're doing what you do, or another way of introducing yourself to the club. I saw a video about a man who's given, 30-odd icebreakers over his career. He likes them because every time he gives one, it's different because he has changed. Yes.
So the membership fee will not change.
To the best of my knowledge, the membership fee does not change.
Okay, but currently, as a club, we purchase the manuals, not a member? Do we?
No, we do purchase individually. As a club, we bought an entire set of the advanced manuals so people could see what they are.
Oh, okay, but we still,
And we may want to start selling those off, I don't know.
at a higher rate.
You've got 2 years to go through
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And what we've been
For
doing
me,
is
I
giving
don't have
them
access
like
to
the additional CC and CL after you've gotten
Yeah,
yours,
cheaper to
so
buy
that
yours
you
than
can
yours
do it
now.
again, and the
Especially
club
what they
pays
do
for
for
that, because the club gets a certain benefit on the distinguished club program. But that initial 2 is covered by that initial membership fee, yeah.
Right, and again, new members will not be allowed to use the Legacy program. Well, they can, but they won't get any credit for it.
Yeah.
I think this session has come to an end.
Good job, Pat.
President.
thank Pat and Tammy again for an amazing presentation and all of your knowledge, for their willingness to help us and help us grow and succeed as Toastmasters. If there's nothing further from the group, we're going to adjourn a few minutes early.
Except-
Amy,
I have something.
we do have some
We have
quick
two
announcements, yes.
Today will be the last meeting that Miss Kathy Blunt will be joining us because she's leaving and going to California.
Super sad.
Very sad.
She-
So,
what is Kathy doing?
she's moving to California.
Oh.
Was that what we said?
Back to California.
It was you.
Back to-
It's
Nothing to do with the people here. I love the people in the Northwest.
It's the weather.
Just the weather.
You like Alaska and you're moving to California
No,
because Seattle's.
I'm
not-
Alaska.
You're Alaska.
Yeah. I'd rather be there.
No, I
The weather's
never
better
claimed
there. Oh, Kathy, I'm really bummed.
I'll come visit. My family's here. My
Okay.
friends.
We're going to miss you.
Boy, are we gonna miss you.
Jorge?
Very sad.
By the way, the video of the last session has been uploaded. I forgot to send you guys an email. And this one will be uploaded today, probably towards the end of the day or sometime tomorrow.
Did you wanna
Okay, yeah.
announce this?
And then, in front of you is some information on a new advanced club that Pat and I are trying to breathe some life into. There is no advanced club in this immediate area. And so we want to go around to the existing clubs and drum up some interest, because this is a potential for all of us to create something. There's nothing here. It can be whatever the people who are interested in having such a beast create. So do we want extended evaluations, like a 15-minute evaluation? I don't know if you got to see Balraj when he was here, but he talks about his club and they have like these 15-minute long evaluations. Do we want whatever we want? So we have a meeting February 24th, that's in Country Village, and anybody who's interested at this point, come and put your input in there. It's Saturday morning, it's at the Zamani World Dance Center, which there's some fun things that happen there. Yeah, and at this point, we don't know what the requirements will be to join, but we can make that up. Generally, those advanced clubs meet once a month, so it's not going to be like another weekly commitment. And those can be in the evening or on a weekend, whatever works best for the group.
So this initial meeting is a definition meeting. You're not saying it's going to meet Saturday mornings?
Correct.
Okay.
And we're not saying it's going to meet there, but that's just to get the interest and to get the names and to get us all going and get our synergy and energy together.
Is there an alternative date and time? I'll be out of the country.
For this one, not, but we know we have his name, and so we know that you're definitely interested, and we'll keep you abreast then of what information comes up from
Yeah.
us.
There'll probably be a couple more informational meetings before anything is decided.
Yeah, keep me posted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'll be out for 2 weeks only.
Okay, good, and have a good trip. Thank you. Thank you.
Another
Oh,
quick
yeah.
announcement, if I may. Confidence Builders Toastmasters meets in Mill Creek. They are kind of rebuilding the club. At the beginning of the year, they had 24 members.
Beginning of
That's
this
a
year?
lot. Beginning of this year, July 1.
Oh,
Oh.
And
yeah.
that's a lot. It doesn't sound like they need rebuilding. But last year, they had a turnover of 23 members.
Oh, my word.
So their board of directors, for example, they've got people who've only been members for a couple months.
Wow.
So a very experienced Toastmaster is their president and is trying to build them up. And it's requested that if you are willing to be a judge or a test speaker, such as Steve is going to be for those places, to send an email to Jim Sultan, president, the
Who's
experienced
that?
speaker. Yeah. So I would really like to get some involvement from some outside folks to let them see that there are
What
other
time
people who are
is the club?
Toastmasters.
What does
It says on here, you arrive at 6 o'clock, so you can be brief, and the meeting runs from 6:30 till 8. Here you are.
What's their
Thank you very
typical
much.
meeting time?
Is this
6:30 to 8.
6:30 to 8,
They
okay.
meet once a
Okay.
week. And there you
An
go.
hour and a half.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I have a quick one. I stumbled across this by reading the Starburst newsletter. Redmond Toasters and Redmond 2828 are doing this Rise Above series. They had a meeting last